I'm Sajid Sathak, your host for today. I have 30 years of global entrepreneurial experience, 20 years of which have been in the built environment sector, namely real estate development, infrastructure, and renewable energy. Lately, I've been focusing more on technology in the built environment, mainly into digital twins and smart city initiatives. In parallel, as the co-chair of RICS Crescent Center of Excellence for Built Environment, which is situated within Crescent University, I focus on education, bridging the gap between academia and industry. In my various roles within business chambers and social trusts, I'm dedicated to leveraging commercial success for national progress and environmental sustainability. My goal is to ensure that technological advancement serves as a pillar for a stronger, more transparent India. India is currently executing a monumental $1.4 trillion infrastructure vision anchored by the Gati Shakti National Master Plan. To transform this vision into reality, our industry must move beyond fragmented traditional workflows. CDCPIndia, functioning as BuildingSMART India chapter, is a vendor-neutral, not-for-profit national society dedicated to this very transformation. Our mission is to inspire and collaborate across AECO sector to advance digitally enabled processes and open technologies. We serve as a critical confederation partnering with government, academia, and global bodies to establish the regulatory frameworks, ISO 19650 standards, and open BIM culture necessary for consistent project outcomes. By facilitating skill development and building national certification capabilities, we ensure that the digital evolution of our built environment is both validated and outcome-driven. Esteemed colleagues and fellow national builders, today's topic is RERA 2.0, opportunities for data mining. Data mining is the engine of Industry 4.0 in Indian AECO sector. In the era of Industry 4.0, data is a new concrete. Leveraging data mining within the RERA framework is a mechanical necessity for a digitalized construction sector. How it helps? Predictive analytics. Data mining identifies patterns in historical project delays, allowing RERA to move from reactive policing to proactive risk mitigation. Escrow security. Algorithms can cross-reference 5D BIM cost data with bank withdrawals to detect financial anomalies instantly, ensuring 70% of the funds remain project-specific as is mandated. Standardized benchmarking. Mining data across diverse projects enables the creation of national performance benchmarks, driving efficiency and global competitiveness. Lifecycle transparency. Converting raw construction data into a digital thread ensures that as-built information is available for decades for facility management. National economic trust. Eliminating information asymmetry attracts institutional investment, providing the stable foundation required for a Viksit Bharat. Now to our speaker. It is my privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker, Mr. Prakash Challa, Chairman and Managing Director of SSPDL Group. A postgraduate and a first-generation entrepreneur, Mr. Challa brings immense experience across infrastructure, property development, and banking industries. A visionary leader in organized real estate, he was the founder-president of CREDAI Tamil Nadu and served as the chairman of CREDAI Taxation Committee for over a decade. His influence extends into national policy as the past chairman of the National Advisory Council for CREDAI. Beyond business, Mr. Challa is dedicated to long-term growth of the Indian industry and serving on executive committees of CII, IGBC, and the British Business Group. His commitment to excellence and national progress makes him a definitive voice on the evolution of RERA and digital transparency in our construction landscape. Where at a personal level, Mr. Challa has been a good friend and a mentor for me for over the last 20 years. In fact, he was my first development partner. So we delivered some really interesting landmark projects together, including 2-star hotels. It is my privilege to host Mr. Challa today. Over to you, Mr. Challa.
Thank you, Sajid. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I would like to thank Mr. Amitava of CDCP India for thinking it fit of inviting me to speak on the opportunities for data mining. Construction technology people, they are connected to the industry, no doubt, as service providers or people who are looking at not exactly the real estate developers. So it makes my job easy because I find that RERA is a very misconceived subject from a perspective of the public. Public know only one aspect of RERA. Let me give you a brief history of how and when the RERA came into picture. RERA is short form for Real Estate Regulation and Development Act 2016. Even though the word development is introduced, the intent was that this act should be the catalyst for taking forward the real estate industry as a whole in India to a more organized level of development and bring in transparency on various levels. You would wonder why this was introduced in 2016 and the implementation, the act was passed on 25th of March 2016 and implementation was scheduled for 1st April 2017. The first of the states to implement was Maharashtra. And of course, subsequently, several of them introduced. Now we have about 30 plus states and union territories having implemented across the country. Why RERA? I don't know how many of you have watched a movie called Khosla Ka Ghosla, which was of 2006. You had Mr. Anupam Kher. This talked about a retired, one of the employees in Delhi who was retiring from job, and his dream was to own up a plot of land, and he goes and purchases a plot of land, and once he retires, all his pension funds are put in it, and he wanted to build something, and he realized that whole site is gone. Somebody has occupied the site. And then, of course, a very interesting and humorous way and very emotional way, the way he brings back the entire plot. This was actually the basis for creating RERA. In 2009, the then housing minister, Kumari Selja, she is the one who thought that, okay, we should bring in some legislation because there's a new government had formed, Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao's government, and we had Mr. Kapil Sibal was the education minister, and he had introduced within 100 days a program called, wherein they said that no more exams for the 10th class students. And housing industry wanted to announce something quick, so they announced RERA without even thinking, without any groundwork. So the first of the act in which they first discussed with us, at that time I was the national vice president, about half a dozen of us were called, we did discuss, and a lot of iterations took place. And finally in 2015, sometime in September, October, I think, we had the final meetings, and then that came in 2016. Now, reasons for why it was happened, if you look at the basis of what was happening during that period in Delhi, Gurgaon, Noida, a lot of developers had taken monies and projects were behind schedule. Some of them are not even delivered. There was a lot of pain going on. So they thought that, okay, why don't we do this and bring together a system wherein the end consumer, the primary objective at that time was only thinking that the customer should be not impacted by any of the vagaries of developers. Country, quite a few developers across the country were collecting huge funds of money and not delivering the project. So there was a lot of pain going on, and that's the reason why they came out with this act. And we did CREDAI at the national level and NAREDCO at the national level, we did discuss at length, and we could agree and come out with a system which we felt is that, okay, this will protect everybody at the same time the industry doesn't come to a halt. Because usually in our country, whenever you talk about a regulation will bring very draconian steps, and then everybody is going back and forth as to how to develop the entire thing and deregulate some of the regulations which have come in. But this was very strongly formed in terms of a parliamentary act, and they said that no changes will be made in this act, and any changes have to come back to the parliament. Now you know how it is that in case any amendment has to be made to the act, it has to go to the parliament, which is again you're talking about getting so much a majority, it won't happen. So as it today, it stands. A lot of interpretations and iterations are happening. But let's look at what are the benefits which are come in out of it. Initially, there were a lot of restrictions. I mean, a lot of thought process among the developers and everybody that, look, this is going to be a restricted trade practice for all of us, and we will not be in a position to handle this particular rules and regulations. So they first introduced that, okay, the reasons for the key provisions. What are the key provisions? It talked about institutional framework. What do you mean by institutional framework? They said it's every project has to be mandatorily registered, and they came out with some 500 square meters or 8 apartments. These are the basic things. Then they talked about all the building approvals have to be uploaded onto the system, and the agents, this time around they came out with even the real estate agents have to be registered, so that there is total transparency when it comes to who is developing what project and who are the agents which are selling them. Because there was a whole ecosystem works is that a developer on himself or herself will not be in a position to develop and sell, but they also look for this agency system wherein the agents are accountable for it. A lot of fly by night operators happen in all industries, so this is also agents are in the same situation. So you cannot market anything without getting it registered. In the same thing for the agents. So there is total institutional framework. Everything is coming under institutional framework now. Then the complaint redressal. So even the complaint redressal is through the institutional network only. That means one consumer, as far as the consumer is concerned, that he gets everything cleared through institutions whom they can trust. And they are very clear that this real estate regulatory authority is going to handle my issues. Now, the latest is that they are now encouraging, and some of the states have also introduced that once he registers a project, they should also register the name of and contact numbers of the dispute resolution officer of that particular company, so that they don't have to run around many people, because only the marketing guys would sell it, or the sales guy would have marketed the entire thing, and they have to run around behind the sales guy or the CRM guy to find out what are the issues, if in case they have any issues with the developer. So there is a question of that they are handling with the, as a institution, they're dealing with the RERA. So RERA also has created a specific officers for them to handle these resolutions. Then we talked about transparency and accountability, how this is achieved. For every project, they have to give details of what is the sanctions, what is the approvals which they have received. There's a plethora of approvals for some of these projects. You run into about 25 to 30. So unless all the approvals are received, after that only they go through the main approval of the getting the plans approved in terms of the, whether it is in Chennai, it is a Chennai Metropolitan Development Authority, Hyderabad, it is HMDA, like that, and the corporation. Apart from this, they also have to give details of the carpet area versus what they have booked for. And normally the developers across the country sell on a super built up area as a value, and that's where a lot of opaqueness was there. There was no clarity of what do you mean by super built up area. People know that the carpet area is heard, a plinth area is heard, but what is a super built up area, wherein you talk about approaches and common areas which are there. So the customer, even though he purchases something like 1,000 square foot, ends up wondering that why my apartment is only 500 square foot. I wouldn't like to name, but some of the cities, they used to have a factor called loading, and they used to do absolutely obscene amount of loading, sometimes 50%, 60%, 80% like that. So all this was reined in now. Customer gets to know what he is going to get. He's very clear on his carpet area. Because general tendency we have noticed that people on their own, they don't know what they mean by really, they want a 3-bedroom apartment, but they don't know whether it is they want 2,000 square foot or 1,500 square foot. So they would be thinking in their mind that, okay, they have a vision of 2,000 square foot, but what they got is roughly about 1,100 square foot. So all these are addressed once for all. And there is total transparency and accountability there. Then there comes out, how do you account that whether this particular project will come on time or not? So quarterly progress reports also have to be given, wherein they have to report about the physical completion as well as the financial progress of the project. So totally it is addressed in absolute terms that the project is on time, because once you are applying to the institutional framework of RERA, you have to mention when you are going to deliver the project. There will be only a very limited force majeure clauses. Other than that, they have to deliver. There is only a 90-day grace period given to them. And very rarely they allow 1 year extension only in case the project is beyond schedule for any of the projects, any particular phases, because large projects need phases. Of course, there is a challenge now from the real estate industry. There is a demand that for large projects, they should look at giving more time for various reasons. Sometimes shortage of food, so shortage of materials will happen, and various other activities. So there is a thought process that, okay, if all the members agree, then 2/3 they have to come forward and agree that, okay, there has been a general reasons the developer is unable to perform, then they will give. Otherwise, without their consent, even the RERA authorities will not do that. Then you are talking of the defect liabilities period. This is where was a major problem. Customers were not willing to, the developers were not willing to address the defect liability issues of structural defects. So government has come forward. They said minimum 5 years structural defect liability has to be handled by the developer himself. He or she has purchased it, so 5 years, and they have given some concessions for the MEP items like bought out items like electrical. You're talking of the lifts and the air conditioning system or the motors, because they all come with their own minimum warranty for 1 year, and post that the association is supposed to take the AMCs. So that is also taken care of in terms of the defect liabilities, because purchasers have purchased and they are not sure about what's the quality which they have got, and they can come back and complain. And within that 5 years, in case there are structural defects, then they have to take into account and do that. Earlier, other issue which was plaguing is the developers take a large project, but they keep on changing their project status in terms of phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Yes, no problem with that. But suddenly they decided that, okay, they'll get more FSI. So they increase the project size in terms of number of units. You would have purchased thinking that about 100 units are coming up, but eventually midway the developers have been doing some 200 units or 300 units, depending on new regulations which have come in, or they're getting premium FSI, they're purchasing premium FSI, or adding more FSI into it with or without permissions. This has been prevalent very much in Delhi. Noida was a classic case. I have to use the words because this is where the actually genesis of RERA has come in, only from those areas. Haryana and UP and Gurgaon, this is where the maximum. I'll show you with statistics. I'll give you statistics, you'll be really amazed as to why RERA has come and why it has introduced, and who are the beneficiaries today in terms of the customers, how they have benefited out of this RERA. Then they can't do any changes in the drawings. These are a no as far as that is concerned. Because what used to happen is that suddenly, for various reasons, developers, I'm a developer myself, last 25, 30 years we've been doing development. We strictly follow rules and regulations, but still there are some friends who keep doing these kind of things, even though we advise them not to do it, but still it happens. Third, financial discipline. Financial discipline is very, very critical. The basis for this whole RERA has come only because this financial discipline, developers collecting money from customers and then not delivering it. So RERA says minimum 70% of the money which is collected from customers has to be deposited in a designated account. And that designated account is to be, the banker will release based on progress of construction. Now, progress of construction is not just a letter by the developer, but that has to be certified. That has to be certified based on the stage of construction. So the architect steps in first. He certifies that, okay, this is the stage at which we are originally committed. Because if you recollect, once the project is applied for sanction, the developer has to give the proposed progress report in terms of this is how 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, like that, the project will come up. So they have to mention that. And based on that, the milestone is achieved. So architect certifies that. Next comes the engineer who certifies it for the quantities which have been consumed. And third, the chartered accountant. All are independent. There is a chartered engineer is separate as well as a chartered accountant is separate, not your own people. They have to certify that, yes, this is the fund which has been used. Based on that, these 3 certificates, banks will release as per the milestone. So there is total protection as far as the consumer is concerned. This is the best thing which has happened, honestly speaking, because consumer is not at a loss. He's clear that yes, his money is safe. There are some real penalty clauses also for delayed, and in case the project is delayed beyond 90 days, which is very, very draconian, so which ensures that the developer doesn't default. In 90 days, if the particular developer has not delivered as per the progress is not going as per the projected statements which they are given to the RERA as per the statements, they have the liberty of cancelling it. And they get back within 90 days. The developer has to pay back with the State Bank of India interest rates of some 9% or something like that. So that really puts a big burden on the developer to ensure that he delivers the project on time. He doesn't give false promises and he ensures the project is on time. Now you might say that, okay, developer while giving itself, they can give a very long period, but then his marketing gets impacted because the customer is more looking at what do I get and when do I get. If he feels that this particular project is going to take a long time, then the project doesn't get sold out. The people are wary, they'll feel, okay, fine, we'll see how the milestone go, and then we take it forward. Then you have annual audit, which is given. So the certification is completed, the provision by the banker to freeze the account. Then you cannot take more than 10% as advance, which was there in the past before the agreement is signed. So you have to be transparent. You have to give the agreement in writing. Only if you are taking anything more than 10%, then you have to enter into an agreement. Earlier, it was not there. Earlier, like it used to go on and people used to take 30%, 40%, and no agreement is signed. They keep saying that we won't sign till the 50% is completed, and all sorts of problems had happened. All that is gone. Now, the whole story in RERA was LOT centricity. LOTs are the primary customer. As always, everyone in the marketing say, customer is the boss. Now, he has to be protected. So, project timely completion in delivery with penalties, everything is taken into account, and the promoter has to compensate. And apart from these, a couple of very interesting things happen. One is the formation of the association of LOTs. The moment you complete 75% of the sales of the project, then it's obligatory on the part of the developer to give to form the association and hand it over to them for the maintenance part of it. Because there are several cases where associations are not formed. Developer has been taking the maintenance charges. He doesn't do development. He doesn't do the proper maintenance because it's still unsold stocks are there. These are the practical issues which have happened in the past. So now it's obligatory, and once the customers have all joined together, then automatically they end up saying that, okay, now the project is completed as far as we are concerned. Why didn't you do all of this? Then that's how the customers are protected. Now, this side of the story of RERA is very interesting. So probably would not have had or understood what exactly was happening in RERA. So RERA is, okay, you feel that it's been a good legislation which has been brought in. Just to give you an example in terms of statistics, I was telling about UP and Haryana and where we had all the problems. You'll be surprised that so far in our country, about 140,000 units projects have been registered. This is as statistics of as of 2025, January also. Out of which roughly 1.1 crore residential units are being registered, are being developed at various stages from the time of the RERA inception of 2017. Now, so far, they had about close to out of 140,000, about 127,000 complaints from the customers. They are all at various stages of addressal. And you'll be surprised that only 2 states, that is UP and Haryana, account for more than 58%. 58% of complaints. You can imagine the why and where the genesis of RERA emanated. But it's interesting because somewhere down the line, all these are getting resolved, and there's the same places where real estate will improve much, much further. In terms of compliances, real estate regulatory authorities have been very active. The top states, about half a dozen states are there: Gujarat, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, your Kerala, your Karnataka, Telangana. These are the states where more than around 70% of the projects are underway, and they're all regulated and happening. Now, I think as far as RERA is concerned, this is what it is. If you have any questions on RERA, you can talk to me later. But very interesting data which has emanated from this entire RERA. Just give me a minute, please. When RERA was introduced, it was the primary objective was only for safeguarding the consumer. But they never realized that there's a huge data which is available in terms of opportunities for mining. Now, what happens? Projects are getting fixed. So automatically you have state-wise, city-wise, your demand supply of not only residential, commercial, institutional, industrial. We get all the information of the real estate products of the country at one location. Suddenly, these are like collateral benefits which are coming out. Now, when Namita was suggesting that, what about this? I said, look, this is where the actual story begins now. If India were to tap, yes, we have organized data. Our experience, I mean, in fact, I remember Sajid, when he first landed from Belgium and wanting to do business here in India, the first question he was asking, what is the real estate data? We don't have data. India was lacking data. My experience by going to, whenever we used to give representations to the Ministry of Finance or Ministry of Housing on various aspects, first thing they used to ask is, what is the total data you have? How much units you are producing? What is the total requirement? We had one broad number was there. India, when I was started my business in 2008, like that, we are talking about total sales, total requirement of homes was 26 million homes. And how many millions we are producing? All units put together, we're not even producing 1 million per year. So you can imagine what is the kind of shortfall. That is the demand perspective. We didn't have a real-time data available city-wise. Some data was being arrived at by CMI. CMI is the Center for Monitoring of Indian Economy, is the only organization from Government of India which was doing all this data. And they used to call up some developers for large projects and all that. They used to call regularly and inquire, sir, how is this project going on? That's it. Only some data they used to take it, and then somewhere down the line they extrapolate the figures and the data is submitted. So it was not there. Today, you have so much of data available. How now that data is going to be mined is critical. And there are various ways you can try to get information of so much information or data out there. We're just discussing about with I and Amitabh before we started it, as to who really owns this, who is the owner of this data now, and who has the IP rights on this. Now, those are probably issues which can be addressed at a much later date. But today, you are not having any data available city-wise. Even the state governments, they don't give importance to that. When they bring in some legislations on housing improvement, they talk about so many programs you must have heard about it called the PMAY scheme. MNREGA when it was introduced. Then they talked about affordable housing schemes. None of them have any data available today, which is really authentic. Now, as I told you, real estate development regulatory authority, when it was introduced, they introduced with a certain specific number that these are the people, this is the number of people, I mean, minimum number of units have to be done like this. Now, according to us, our discussions amongst our group in the National Advisory Council, we feel that roughly about 65% of to 70% maximum are the real estate projects which are getting developed is the real data as well as percent of the people who are not registered their project because they're not eligible for getting they're not liable to be registered according to the act. So that is a kind of information which is available. Now that availability in terms of locations wise, now you have micro markets available. So in the micro market data, you'll get that in a city, okay, what all is happening, which market is good. Now, apart from that, you have what is the product size, whether a 2-bedroom comes up, or 3-bedroom comes up, or 4-bedroom comes up, and what is the value? What is the product size? The 2-bedroom is what? Like 2-bedroom in Chennai, in Mumbai will be only about maybe 600 square foot. Once it comes to Chennai, it can go. The same thing in Hyderabad, it will be nothing less than 1400 square foot. So different micro markets operate differently because of the price points being differently. Now all this data is available now. Now there are agencies who can look at this kind of a thing and then create that, yeah, this is where the growth corridors of the cities happen. And when your cities are expanding, even for the government of India or the government, state governments, they can gauge and plan that this is where the future of the city is and this is where we are going. So this data can be mined. There are organizations who want to sit and do it. That's what they will be able to do it. And the same thing that will help in the financial data of the market size of each micro market. So that if somebody wants to come and want to do business here, they can understand that, okay, there is a market To just give you one figure, in Chennai, till 2020, 2019 to 2020, the Chennai market was having a market size for units costing less than 5 crores, from between 1 to 5 crores, was only about close to 300 or 400 units per year. The same thing now today, when we have data availability, when we check, it has gone up by about 10 times. Now values have gone up, areas have gone up. Hyderabad, I come originally from Hyderabad. I know what Hyderabad was, and today where Hyderabad is. Hyderabad has now crossed over Bangalore in terms of number of sales. The first quarter, they did about something like 8,500 crores worth of sales. That is the kind of markets which are growing, and that is thanks to the availability, and their particular state is able to do infrastructure development based on the data which the data mining really helps in getting through your parameter, not only for the private developers or for the government of India or government of state government to plan that, okay, this is where we should look at, this is the growth corridors which they create. Automatically infrastructure development happens there. And the entire economy of the health of the company now comes very different analysis. Now, if Sajid is the first avatar of Sajid, I know him as a private equity investor. The money bag was coming from Cyprus and he wants to invest in India. Like him, there are so many private equity people who are coming in to invest into India. So first and foremost, they look at it, okay, whether I should invest in X company or Y company. What is his financial health? That data comes out of RERA's information. They can just Google, check it out, X company, how they're doing, whether their delivery points are good or not. A no-brainer. Straight away, you get that kind of analysis, and then they can do this. So you get your project delay status, everything is worked out. Now, apart from that, you have the labor migrations. Because the kind of labor we use, we have 250 plus industries the real estate industry supports. Out of 250 industries which is being supported by us, you can see for yourself backwardly, you calculate when we are discussing with, we do smart contracting by talking to the suppliers. Mumbai does it. MCHI does a fantastic job every year. I've been there on several occasions. We have a purchase mela for 2 days. All the marketing guys come there. They want to sell their tiles. They want to sell their information in terms of what new products they are coming out with, all of them. And we have the developers coming in. So we talk with data available that I am going to do 2 million square foot, 4 million square foot. What do I get? Now, as far as the manufacturers are concerned, they can do their planning very well. They know that, okay, for the next 2 years, 5 years, this is the kind of growth the industry is expected. Now, that has authenticity by verification from the RERA office. Now, this is where the entire future is there. And we are also talking that, okay, as a corollary from the real estate regulatory authorities, quite a few of them also set up the real estate appellate tribunals also. They can look at doing in terms of whether these contracts which are coming in, whether we can digitize them and make them into much more transparent and have uniformity. Government of India, through the Supreme Court of India, in fact, they came forward, and currently an exercise is on, which is not been completed, in wanting to have a unified agreement of sale and a construction agreement across the country. It's taking a long time because, according to us, the land is a state subject. So different cities, states have their own, local laws. So how we are able to, at least about half a dozen IT nations have happened. They've appointed a couple of amicus curiae in Delhi. Supreme Court is appointed. And CRERA is working with them, and a team is working at the national level. It has taken more than 1.5 years. So far, it has not been concluded. It will take a long time, but it's good because at least you are clear that there is a one agreement. There is no the normally what happens, the consumer doesn't invest in any legal advisor. They just believe the developer and give it, and with the hope that if they are going for a bank loan, it is a banker which takes care of it. But the way the bankers operate, they don't give much except going through the documentation, whether the legally title is correct or not, they approve the project. So this is what are the various opportunities available. Now, smart contracting can be done in terms of looking whether dispute resolution. Now, disputes have resolved so well so far. So they are also looking at whether we can do anything in terms of the dispute resolution itself, whether we can digitize it and share it with others. This is in brief. I think I have covered as much as possible. I still have
No, you've covered it very well, Mr. Challa. I think it's been very comprehensive and concise. I must say.
Any
I
questions?
think so. Yeah, I think it's been a very insightful, input that you've given us. So from our Khosla ka Ghosla days, we've come a long way. I would say, today
Yes.
the consumer has much more confidence and trust in the Kadai in builders, and especially from Kadai builders. And so I think builders also have worked very hard, to put this whole process in place, and RERA is actually very effective, I would say, in taking the industry forward. So all that you explained, the measurement standards, keeping up in the project timelines, the financial discipline, and all of that have been implemented to a large extent. But the discussion that we would like to have now is basically the use of digital technologies, in this whole process, including your approval process and RERA and all that, having interoperable, data and common data environment and interoperable technologies will take it to the next level is what we believe, there are a lot of benefits. This is happening now across, I would say, other developed countries, like in Europe, it's happening. Do you see it happening in India, the approval process getting digitalized? It not just in terms of uploading your digital documents, but in terms of, let's say, automating the whole process so that there's less human intervention in the approval process. By doing that, I would say, first of all, we make the process more efficient. But on top of that, there are other, I would say, advantages, and opportunities that we're looking at. So how do you see this happening in the short term or in the midterm?
Sajid, I would, I may be skeptical for you, but I would say that, look, in the short term, it won't happen. Okay, because we have migrated. I remember when we first started giving 7 years ago, when the RERA came in, we used to give physical documents. Now from there, we have come to scanned documents. Now scanning of documents itself, and then the scanned copy is given. Now they want photographs also to be scanned. We're telling that, why don't you do this? Why don't we create a digital side and give it? They say no, they don't have the technology. So only about half a dozen states like Gujarat has done exceedingly well. So they've gone into a state your documents, including documents, they should be digitized like that. So slowly it will happen. So midterm, 100% it will happen. There's no doubt. Now, one side of the story is regarding as far as the developers' interaction with the RERA is concerned. But the state governments themselves, the approval authorities to become totally transparent in terms of digitization is a long because without human intervention, you can't get anything. You still have the permit system in the country. Okay, I don't see that it will happen in the next year, but maybe 2 to 3 years, if the will of the state government is there. State government, like Hyderabad, you take. Hyderabad is a classic case where if the government wants to do it, and they have done it in the past. Like you get a deemed approval in 28 days. How is that Hyderabad is able to do it? Why we can't do it? Chennai cannot do it, or some other Bangalore cannot do it. So again, state to state, it will happen. Slowly, we are moving toward that. So I'm being optimistic. I'm not being pessimistic, but I can't give a timeline. Yes, definitely it happened. We are seeing, no, what are the benefits out of credit of RERA which has happened. These are all like ancillary benefit. Nobody even thought that so much data can be culled out from this data which we are being submitted. Now, if the same thing is done on digitized mode, super. Anybody can access from anywhere.
Yeah, I think I'm also quite optimistic for this, Challa. But I think the initiative
Yeah,
also have to come from our side, as in developer side, is what I feel. I feel our government is definitely capable of doing it, especially if you look at the Tamil Nadu government. A lot of our departments are digitized. And at the national
correct.
level, with all this talk about Gati Shakti and all that, I really believe this is going to happen because, when we tried, when we brought Aadhaar, people were skeptical. And then, UPI again. This is really like, I mean, UPI has really made the world turn around and look at us. Like, this is something which is unbelievable. And it hasn't been tried out in any other country. I think so. Today it's functioning. I mean, I hardly care my wallet today, All I need is my
Yeah,
telephone to move around. So when all this is happening, and then, now they've announced this digital public infrastructure, which is
yeah,
on similar lines, I would say. I think it's again Nandan Nilekani who's taken it up. So I really believe that this is going to happen, and sooner than I would say than we think is what I feel. And there's still a lot of opportunity, and in digital public infrastructure, there's opportunity for us to bring in all the I would say the construction related and real estate related data as well. So once we do that, there are a lot of other opportunities that can emerge. From this is what I see. For one, like for instance, like you said, like we don't have any data as to what is the inventory in the market. You know, if as
yeah,
a developer you want to let's say you're looking at a site to develop, and you're looking at a kind of the asset class or the product line that you want to construct there. You don't know how many other competing projects coming up in the same area, right? But once you have the data is digitalized, the process is digitalized, the government will have this data, and they can at least warn you, that, or you can go to somewhere where it says, okay, there's so many projects coming up, so you better look at another asset class or look at another area, or maybe, you postpone
yeah.
your project for a while. These kind of decisions can be taken. Another,
That's
I
right.
would say, major opportunity, what I see is sustainability, monitoring sustainability. If data is available to the government, what kind of projects coming up, they can even bring in regulations in the kind of materials that you're going to use. Again, this is happening a lot already in Europe, a lot, at least 5 countries that I'm aware of, where you
Mm.
need, I mean, the entire approval process is digitalized. I think it's Finland, Estonia, the United Kingdom, Germany, and Spain. They've already made it mandatory to submit your approval application, your plan approval applications using BIM, where you have to specify the
Mhm.
kind of materials that you're going to use, not just the kind, also the
Amazing.
brand. And they have this, something called environmental product declaration, so where every construction material has to have the environmental impact data provided. So
Mhm.
once you
Mm.
put the whole thing into BIM, you get the whole material passport of a so-called material passport of the building, which will give you the exact information on the environmental impact that building is going to have. So this is like, it's an amazing, I would say, means of
Yeah, amazing.
knowing where you're given. So all this is possible, but then we have to move towards the digitalization, of the, not only I mean, let alone the process. Initially, the construction process is like, I mean, how many of us actually use these technologies? I think it's important
Not
for
many.
developers to adopt these technologies and insist on
Yes.
construction companies using these technologies. Only then we can move towards, our dream of digital India and Vikshit Bharat and the rest of it. But I'm quite confident. But I think it's important that we create awareness, and that is what CDCP is doing today. I think CDCP is doing a great job there. So before we wind up, I think I would like to know if any of our viewers have any questions, any of the attendees have any questions. You can open up your mic and ask, or you can even put it on the chat. Please, we're open to questions now. We have another 5 or 6 minutes left. Yeah.
Somebody raised a hand. I don't know. I didn't see again.
So yeah, so how do you, I mean, where do you see this, do you see it happening, let alone the
happening.
whole process being digitalized? But let's say builders adopting, BIM and common data environment and, technologies like digital twins. This will definitely, improve our efficiency and save costs to a large extent. Also, in terms of, let's say, optimizing or rather like sticking to our timelines, financial discipline, all that you mentioned over here will happen faster and more accurately if we adopt these technologies.
Yes, it is going to be. Because the intent is, see, most of the developers have, we all moved into modern practices which are coming in, right? So we are insisting the architects when they are designing the building and all that, BIM has to be incorporated so that we are clear. Okay, Gokul now somebody, they sent you a message. Can you just check it out?
1 second. Where do you see BIM and VDC involved in RERA, and what are your thoughts on this? Gokul, can you explain what VDC is?
Virtual design and
construction. Yeah. So that's my question too.
See, in RERA, as I told you, it is still in the second stage. Maybe RERA 3.0, yes, we are there with the BIM. Because slowly it is getting integrated across. As I told you, Gujarat, they came out with this QR code system, wherein nothing is filed online now. I mean, in terms of physical papers. They are saying very clearly, just give a QR code and that access you give it to all your customers also. So that they are very clear that what is it, they have access to it directly. So BIM has to incorporate, and RERA means the authorities themselves have to first get it incorporated. Now the authorities I'm talking of is the sanctioning authorities. The building design itself has to be in that compatible. Then only it will go in terms of accessibility becomes easier. So otherwise it is not possible. That RERA, how will they introduce? As I told you, RERA, it has from physical, they have moved to a second stage of scanned copies. So next they will talk about it. Okay, if the corporation, like take CMDA from Chennai. Okay, if you talk of CMDA should also first get incorporated the BIM models. So if you have, they want us to submit like that, then automatically architects are geared up. Architects are all geared up. All the modern architects are very clear. I remember Sonali, when she came into India and set up shop, probably they were the first one in India who started this in terms of nobody even heard about it.
Yeah.
So from them to now, yes, there are maybe 10% movement has happened because there is the local authorities, they don't implement it at all. So the developers, they feel that it's an additional burden.
Yeah, I understand.
Hardly 10% of the people are utilizing.
I understand.
Yeah.
So how do you see the evolution happening? You're saying that only some regulatory compulsion will bring will make developers start using these technologies, or the other way around? I think
no, the other way around. See, developers are going to use it.
Yeah.
It is the regulatory authorities who has to accept that. Okay, fine, we are submitting it. That you please want us to submit like this. Then automatically it comes. Otherwise, see, it's a question of cost people look at. it's going to be costlier affair, then you don't expect all the developers to implement. Today, only some of the top developers are implementing it across the board for all their large projects. How many small developers are? You take Mumbai itself. Not many large developers are also implementing it. They feel that because this is only an internal mechanism, they're looking more from internal mechanism perspective rather than the authorities themselves changing their verification process of the digital mechanism. Because see, the moment you talk about BAME, human intervention is gone.
Correct.
Do you think that it is possible? I mean, let's be practical. Yeah, let's say the fact. You may say utopia.
So it's a convenience that we still want to
approved.
maintain that human interference so that it's not everything is like black and white.
Sajid, it is
right?
out of compulsion I'm doing it. Not that I love it. Ideally, I would like not to come to your office at all. Why should I go and run around these guys? It's so humiliating that I go and hang around with them and then try to, sir, you please get my thing done.
There could be some authorities in this chat. I don't know in this meeting, so.
So what? I don't mind. I mean, like, let's say the fact between you and me. I don't care. This is the reality. Let's say the fact. This is the reality. So I'm sorry, but I don't know where.
No, great.
Amita,
thank you very
I'm
much.
happy about it, but
it's been.
I'm sorry, I can't help it. Okay.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting and engaging. Yeah, it's been a very interesting and engaging webinar.
Right,
and
Sajid, thank you.
No, wait. I think Challa, we can wait. I need to announce the next webinar. So,
Okay.
Thank you so much. And then I hope, all the attendees have benefited from the information that we got here. So, yeah, moving on, I must announce the next webinar. That is going to be Building Before Breaking Ground to prove ROI on finding clashes on a screen versus on-site. Gokul, this is something that I know that you're working on. I look forward to that. Registration link will be announced soon on LinkedIn. Soon. Join the mission CDCP and Building Smart India. Your career is about your job, and it is also about your contribution to India. Joining CDCP India and Building Smart India places you at the epicenter of the most significant technological shift in the history of Indian infrastructure. As we transition towards a $5 trillion economy, the demand for professionals who master open BIM and interoperability is skyrocketing. By becoming a member, you gain a massive career advantage, global credibility. Align yourself with international ISO standards that make your skills valid anywhere in the world. Strategic networking. Connect with industry leaders, government regulators, and AECO innovators who are rewriting the rules of Indian construction. Future-proofing. Move beyond proprietary software traps into master vendor-neutral data schemas that provide long-term career sovereignty. Do not be a mere spectator in India's transformation, be an architect. Secure your professional, be its architect. Secure a professional future and serve the nation by joining our community today. Together, we will build a self-reliant, digitally empowered India. Thank you, everyone, for attending the session, and have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sajid.